Terry starts step up the middle of the field, 40. Big hole, 50. He's gone, 45. At the 30. Left sideline, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Jake Terry. The tank for the landscape. Give read option keeper a whole bunch of space. At the 40. Got the 35, 30. Up the middle of the field, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Bryce Underwood. And welcome to Game Night. Nate Dreyer, Chandler Tim with you here. Taking it at the 14-yard line with being offset by Tyson Mann. Shimmies over the 30. Burst of speed at the 40. Right sideline, 50. Able to get away from the tackle. Walking the tightrope at the 30. 25-20. All alone. 10-5. Touchdown, Grandville. Snap to Underwood from the gun. Fake handoff on the RPO. Thrown left side. Caught Yarbrough. Sidesteps the defender at the 5. Walks into the end zone. Touchdown, Belleville. The Tigers put it away. 34-17. They're going to go back-to-back. Fake handoff, keeper left side over the 45-yard line, upside the numbers of the 40, 35-30, left sideline 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown, 7 touchdowns for Mason McKenzie, and Caledonia has just about served this one up on ice. And hello everyone, and welcome to the Tailgate Report. Nate Dreyer, Chandler Timmer. This is Michigan Game Night, and this is Week 9. We have reached the end already of the regular season, and unfortunately, this show not quite as fun as what an upset Friday night for the Bulldogs could have brought, but still plenty good that we're going to be able to talk about because we have a packed week on MGN and a packed week on the Tailgate Report. First and quickly, we're going to get to Snooze. We have got, as I called him, a celebrity, a true celebrity in Michigan high school football. We have Snooze from Snooze to You to help break down the West Michigan playoff picture for at least D1 through D5, because that's what we've kind of been focused on this show throughout the year, and including previewing what we will be at this week. MGN Game of the Week for the first time this year in MGN Game of the Week. We are going to be at Jenison and McKenzie Stadium, which Grandville fans are saying, well, that's weird because they're coming to us. Yeah, unfortunately, we aren't going to be at Grandville for the final week of the season. Student broadcast for Grandville. They do a good job, good quality of coverage there. That group will have that coverage, so make sure you check out that if you want to watch Grandville. But we are going to be at a game that's kind of a winner-go-home clash. Unity Christian, Holland Christian. Both teams need to win to have a chance to make the playoffs, and a loss means they're out. So that's a big one to end the season. Add in Unity, a team we, of course, have done quite a bit in the past. So looking forward to seeing them for the first time since the ill-fated state championship game a couple of years ago. So the first time we've seen them on the football field. But Chandler, I welcome you in.
Yeah.
Our first time really debriefing after the Whip Around show, which is in the books. A new perspective. What are some of your takeaway thoughts from Week 8 and from Friday night?
Yeah, it was kind of, enjoyable to be able to watch all the action kind of at once. And then, yeah, it's been a weekend of trying to process everything because we were flipping between games and trying to catch all the action. But that was a lot of fun and something kind of unique to try there. But yeah, a lot of football, a lot of big games taking place. Of course, the main one we'll be talking about, Grandville, Rockford, and an interesting game there. And one that decided the OK Red, but a lot of other games too. The South Christian Catholic Central game, that was a pretty crazy one, a pretty close game down to the end there too. Yeah, we'll talk about that later, I'm sure. There's mistakes were made by some, but no, a lot of interesting games. A cool opportunity to do that whip around show, and always hard to believe how fast the season goes. Yeah. That it's Week 9 already, and we're talking about the last week of the regular season, playoff pushes and games deciding playoffs already. It feels like we were just doing our way too early preview of some of the playoffs and stuff, and here we are. And now
feels like we were doing our preseason Player of the Year awards like 2 weeks ago.
It does, yeah. But no, another season, another regular season, almost in the books. But.
Yeah, the good news about high school football is for as short as the regular season is 9 weeks. Now the playoffs seem to stretch on all the way until Thanksgiving, so we still have plenty. And of course, we do all we can to make sure that it ends at Ford Field for us. We'll have to find who our path team is going to be that will kind of be following. Well, it's going to be the Bulldogs, of course. Grandville is going to win the state championship.
All right.
Show went well. I was pretty happy with the bulk of, I think, how it went. Hits and misses. Misses the spending an hour building graphics for every game to go up on screen every time that we did it, and then me proceeding to just not realize in the heat of battle that I wasn't going to be able to get them up. That was a miss. I only called South Christian Catholic Central the Holy War once.
Yep.
And then we both had to cut our mics for 30 seconds. And again, we're only allowed to make fun of it because we are, Christian, probably should have been Christian private school kids that went to a public school. Correct. So because of that, that's why we're allowed to make fun of it. Yep. Yeah. Malachi Crunch.
That was the highlight of the night, I think, for me.
If you missed it, Joey Sutherland, our great East Kentwood broadcaster. And the thing is, it was the way this term, I had never heard of the term Malachi Crunch before. Maybe I'm just, maybe that's why I went to Grand Valley State and not to Harvard or to Michigan or something. Maybe I should know this. But by the way, go Lakers.
Yeah, okay.
I forgot about that too. I should have worn a hat today. But there was a hit on, and unfortunately Brody Betzer got hurt on it, which kind of took away the fun.
That was, yeah.
But no, he got, apparently Malachi Crunch is a hit from multiple angles, and he got Malachi Crunch, and Joey Sutherland screams out, gets Malachi Crunched. So guess what term is getting used this week on our broadcast? So Joey is the absolute best. Grandville broadcast, Brock Conkle for Rockford managed to get the Grandville Huddle Cam to work. So that's a 3-year process that we have been too dumb to figure out that he got in one evening of just plugging stuff in. So that made me feel great. He texted me at 6:35, hey, do you want me to make you mad? We're already on air. I'm I'm not sure right now. And he tells me that he got on. So I'm that's great in week 8. So finally, thankfully, Brock, the adult in the room, came in to figure that out. So that's a recap of the show. Make sure you go back and watch it. We'll see. We might do it again in the future based on what. And it's even I would even say for the playoffs it could be interesting, but the playoffs, because we're doing radio, it mostly seemed to work with the video broadcast. Because EGR Byron Center was the best game, but the problem was it was a very good game in the context of it was close, but it was just drives stalling out at the 45 on radio. It was just every time we'd go, it'd be Dave Van Orden setting up another punt.
Yeah,
on
the
radio.
easiest thing with video is you could see exactly where the situation was, and the radio, I was trying to follow along with the games, but in order to listen to it, I'm listening while you're watching a game here, and the audio, it just didn't work the greatest, but the video worked really well, I thought, for being able to kind of follow along with a couple different games at the same time, jump in when there was action in a certain spot.
Yeah, no, I thought it was good. So that's us live on air doing our breakdown. So, of course, you know the drill. Follow us on social media, and subscribe here. Check out our website for our merch. We'll probably have some sort of line of maybe some sort of Road to Ford Field or MGN merch of some sort. Unfortunately, the couple different designs of Grandville OK Red Championship shirts are not going to be happening. I don't even know if we're allowed to do that, but
I don't know either.
we like to live fast and loose. I'm not going to lie with some of our merchandise things. But yeah, that won't happen. So we'll see. State championship shirts. That we definitely get yelled at.
Probably.
That would be a call from the MHSAA. That'd be Mark Ewell calling me personally next morning saying, "What are you doing?" I'd say, Grandville in the championship.
Yeah, I think it's worth it at that point.
It was on our air, right?
You got to do it, yeah.
Oh, we'd try. I'm an ask for forgiveness guy a lot of the time. So we'll try it. All right. Let's just go to... So there's probably a lot of new listeners because I'm sure Snooze retweeted this because he's on and everyone wants to hear what he has to say and look at the playoffs. And it's us idiots just rambling about breaking down our show, talking about getting in trouble with shirts, all this other stuff. That's what you've all tuned into for the first 8 minutes. And honestly, that's a good summation of what this show is. Yeah. Here's Snooze.
I'm Randy Hansen, president of Centennial Securities. I've heard it said that professional coaches measure success in rings, college coaches measure success in championships, and high school coaches measure it in titles. But youth coaches measure success in smiles. At Centennial Securities, we're like the youth coach. Our success is measured by the smiles on the faces of our satisfied clients. If you're a Centennial Securities customer, you know what I mean. If you're not, isn't it about time?
Member SIPC and FINRA.
And welcome back, everyone, to MGN. And this week, special interview is we're getting ready for the playoffs. And we have got Well, I guess I'd say a little bit of a celebrity in high school football in the state of Michigan with us this week. He's known, of course, by one name and one website. It's Snooze from SnoozeToYou.com. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing great, Nate. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well and very excited because we're here to just about the playoffs. And we'll get into the playoffs here in just a second. But, of course, many Grandville fans within our listener base know you from a guy that's on the sideline with the Bulldogs, so often tweeting out and showing some highlights and stuff from the game. So I guess we'll just kind of start, before we get in the playoffs, just kind of your general thoughts on this Bulldogs season, of course, coming off the Rockford loss. But, I mean, this is a Grandville team that, it's a young team, but, man, they've been a lot of fun to watch this year.
Yeah, you just took the words out of my mouth. They've been a lot of fun to watch. Like you said, it's a young team. It's not a huge roster or anything, but they've got grit, as they say in Granville.
Yep.
You mentioned me wandering the sidelines, the coaches, the players, and the administration and everything has been great to me. An old guy walking around sticking his cell phone in everyone's faces, and everyone's just been really, really great. It's been a lot of fun. Last few years before this, I tried to retweet every score in the state, and it just started driving me nuts. Everyone was posting highlights and sending them to me, and I found that I wasn't really watching the local game, and I'm enjoying this so much more, just focusing on one game and not really caring about others.
No,
so it's been great, yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it's fun. On the weeks that I haven't been able to go there, it's been great that you've been at the Grandville game because it makes it that much easier to be able to follow along. But all right, it is going into Week 9, going into this final week of the season. I think in West Michigan things are pretty well set, but first, I guess if you can kind of explain, I think everyone knows about anyone that's watching this show certainly knows about you and Mapatology and what you do, but if you want to just kind of talk a little bit about, we're going to be looking at the Mapatology Week 8.5, the favorites win. If you can just kind of describe a little bit of kind of what went into this and what the Week 8.5 rankings that people can check out are.
Sure. What I do is take the predicted winners from every game in the state, and that's courtesy of Goose Poop. Anyone that knows me probably knows Goose as well. He's sort of the Cal Preps of Michigan high school football, in my opinion. But he sends me a list of all the winners of all the games. He gives me point spreads too, but I don't really publish those. And what we do is plug in the numbers, provided all the winners win, and we know they won't. Or I'm sorry, all the favorites win. We know that won't happen, but this Week 8.5 is generally pretty close to the field that's actually going to happen after all the games are played. Obviously, there are maybe about 6 to 8 teams or so that are waiting anxiously for all the games to be played because they don't know whether they're in or not. You and I can talk about some of those local teams that might be sitting on pins and needles a little bit. But, for the most part, I'd say around 80 to 90% of the field is already set.
Yeah, and let's start in Division I with the big schools here in West Michigan, and we have our attention on Division I, District 1. This is where Grandville and Rockford and Hudsonville are. And really right now, I think you talk about teams waiting, it's going to come down to that East Kentwood versus West Ottawa matchup. You can kind of talk about that and some of the different potential things, but things are kind of locked in and just waiting for West Ottawa and East Kentwood to some extent here, correct?
Yes, I don't think it's 100%, but I think it's very likely that the winner of that game is in, the loser is out. A lot of things could go wrong, and they could both be out. I don't think they could both be in, but, correct me if I'm wrong, edit it out, whatever. But I can... we were in this situation last year with West Ottawa, and there were just a handful of games that really mattered, and it came down to Cass Tech, and they won, and West Ottawa was the first team out, and I hope that doesn't happen to whichever team wins that game. But for people who like to watch the scoreboard, I've got a few teams to root against.
Okay.
There's Brighton. They play Fordson, and we have them not favored to win. But if they did win, they could sneak in. Oxford plays UD Jesuit. Utica plays Farmington. Troy plays Fraser, and Ann Arbor Huron. So those are the 5 teams I think you really need to root against: Brighton, Oxford, Utica, Troy, and Huron.
Yeah.
If a bunch of those lose, potentially we could get both of those teams in which case East Kent would be the one to go to the east.
Okay. If neither make it, would it be Grand Ledge then that would plug into this district, or how do you think that would fall?
Yes, and that's another interesting scenario. If that were to happen, again, I hope it doesn't, but Grand Ledge would move into the district. And here's an interesting thing. Assuming Hudsonville loses to Rockford and Grand Ledge beats East Lansing, then it's pretty much a toss-up for the 3 and 4 seeds. So if the Grandville coaches are listening, you need to scout not only West Ottawa and EK, or I'm sorry, not only Hudsonville, but throw in a tape on Grand Ledge as well. So, yeah, that could be an interesting scenario.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think the Grandville coaches are smart enough that I'm sure they're listening to this. They don't listen to any other segment on this show. They know not to listen to Chandler and I, but they at least listen to this one segment. Let's go on now. We'll skip down to Division 4, which is actually our MGN Game of the Week and provides another one of the kind of win to get in type of scenarios between Holland Christian and Unity Christian in D4. Tell us a little bit about that HC versus Unity game and some of what winning and losing for either team may make and the rest of how D4 could shake out here.
Yeah, I think Unity has a stronger, they're in a stronger situation. I think if they win, they're in. Holland Christian, I believe, is likely out even with a win. Unity, even with a win, they're only maybe the second or third team up from the bottom. So yeah, they could use some help, to get some sleep on Saturday night. But I believe they would be in with a win.
Yeah. Okay. It certainly will be interesting, and it's crazy to think that this Unity Christian team is in a win to stay alive in the playoffs sort of position with the couple of seasons that they've had before this. Let's transition on to Division 2. I think right here you're looking at there's the Muskegon district, and then things have kind of split up. You have right now, based on this projections, the District 2 where Byron Center is. Then you move to another region where Caledonia is. Is there any potential movement where you maybe see Caledonia and Byron Center wind up together, or that Muskegon thing potentially get blown up? Is there one game that maybe that's hinging on, or is this pretty settled that we're going to see these major kind of West Michigan powers, Byron Center, Caledonia, at least separate?
I think there's a possibility that Traverse City Central could drop out. I haven't looked at them particularly, but I believe that's the case. If that is the case, then I think it's possible that the Muskegon teams could slide over with one of the Grand Rapids area teams. Again, it depends on kind of the flow, but I would say Byron Center would be the most likely to go into that district. Caledonia in particular is quite shielded from going to Muskegon simply because Byron Center and Forest Hills Northern are both in. Forest Hills Northern is pretty close to the bubble, but I think they're pretty solid even if they lose. They play East Grand Rapids this week. But yeah, Caledonia, I can pretty solidly say they will not be paired with the Muskegon teams.
Okay. Into Division 3, where there are a lot of good teams from across West Michigan. You look at the week 8.5 and the favorites win right now. You see Forest Hills Central, Northview, Lowell all together in in a district. You see East Grand Rapids, the Zeeland schools, Coopersville all together. So a couple real gauntlets. I guess I kind of asked the same question. Do you see some potential movement there, probably kind of revolving around Northview, I would suppose, on where some of these teams could wind up? Or is it also, kind of similar that we're expecting things in D3 to stay somewhat set how they are?
Saying anything with D3 or D4 being set where they are as far as geography is concerned is just crazy because there are so many variables. Number one, there are so many teams that are close together, and there are a few teams in each of those divisions that totally kind of screw up the geography as far as who to pair with who. So that's my little caveat.
Okay.
If your team's not in the district I projected, oh well, it's kind of a crapshoot. And I do make it very clear that I'm not necessarily predicting what MHSAA will do. I hope it's close, but this is how I do it, and I'm certainly not saying that's the only way to do it. But as far as teams, Northview is, I believe they're likely in, even with a loss to Byron Center. Of course, if they win, they're obviously in. Cedar Springs can get in with a win over Forest Hills Eastern. Easier said than done, but they could get in, and if they did, they would, I believe, leap over Northview should Northview lose. Teams to root against for our local teams would be Cadillac and Gull Lake, just to bump up the Northviews and Cedar Springs of the world.
Okay. Division 5, I think there's probably one main talking point in D5 when you look at West Michigan and how things have fallen for the last couple years and the way things that we potentially may see them fall again. That is right now, Belding's off on their own, and West Catholic and Catholic Central are together and going for a potential another district championship type clash. I guess, are there matchups out there that you could see things, potentially, and again, coming down to what the MHSAA does, where you could potentially see those two teams split apart, or are we likely, you think, going for another Falcon and Cougar clash for a district championship?
I think it's likely they'll be in the same district. However, there is one scenario where they won't be. And I can say this for Division 5, specifically for this West Michigan area, pretty confidently that it depends entirely upon the number of teams that make the playoffs south of Grand Rapids. Now, we've got currently Berrien Springs and South Haven are locks. What we need is exactly one more team. We've got Benton Harbor and Allegan that are kind of on the bubble, both of which kind of need help. But if one of those two teams gets in, then what we would have is Berrien Springs, South Haven, say Benton Harbor or Allegan, plus probably Catholic Central. And in that case, they would be split apart from West Catholic. Now, if both of those teams get in, that puts us back to square one, because Benton Harbor and Allegan would be paired with the other two Southwest teams, and then we have Catholic Central and West Catholic right back where we started. I think a team like Belding might like that, because if we have 9 teams in the West here, it's a possibility that Belding could get shipped more east towards Corunna, which is no easy task either, but I bet they'd take their chances. So yeah, I've been asked about this all year long. Why are you pairing these two schools in the same district? It's not fair, blah blah blah. But this is how it's done. There's no attempt to balance the power. That's just how it is. But yeah, the single scenario is if we get 3 teams south of Grand Rapids. And for this situation, to help Benton Harbor and Allegan to get in, we want to root against these 4 teams: Dundee, Essexville Garber, Standish Sterling, and this may or may not be true, Comstock Park, but they play Newaygo, and then we may be rooting against Newaygo and just kind of going back and forth forever. So,
all right. All right, well, Snooze, thank you so much. Such great information. You know, I speak for everyone across the state of Michigan in thanking you for all you do for high school football and helping make a little bit more sense of where things are going as we get into the playoffs. So again, thank you so much for your time today, and Snooze, thank you also for all the other work you do for high school football in the state of Michigan.
It's a fun time of year. Oh, I think I see Chandler coming in. Take care.
Okay. Yep. Thank you so much. All right. We will quick step aside, right back here on Game Night. All right, welcome back to the Tailgate Report. Nate and Chandler, thank you again to Snooze for coming on. Great interview and a great look around West Michigan. And all going on, good look at kind of where we're at. Let's start now by doing a Week 8 review. And we will start with the Grandville-Rockford game that we weren't at. 34-13, the final, I believe, right?
Yes.
We weren't there, yes. And I think I'm not even kidding or being over the top with my Grandville whatever. That's the best performance of the year anyone's had against Rockford. Mm-hmm. Like I hate to I don't want to be the homer take like, oh, they're fighting, they're whatever. But legitimately, we said this a couple times on the air. The game script. Like, it was the game script Grandville needed. You just get a couple breaks that go a little bit different. You get some stops that you didn't get. You get some scores that you didn't get. The speed of the game in the game script was what Grandville could ask for, and they got to do it again in 3 weeks. So, like, if you can repeat that game script, I think they have a chance to win, and that's why they held Rockford to, I think, the lowest total Rockford's been held to, and, they scored a couple touchdowns against Rockford, which really is saying a lot. Like, truly saying a lot.
It is, yeah. I think definitely positive signs when you look at it. Of course, the final score is going to look like there was some distance there between the two teams, but when you consider that Grandville had it within a score in the third quarter, a single possession game, that you have to feel pretty good. That's exactly kind of the game script that happened against Caledonia, where they're down a possession, able to make some plays on special teams. The defense steps up, the offense handles the football for basically the entire fourth quarter, and they find a way to win it at the buzzer. And the only difference, Rockford executed a little bit better on the stretch, didn't have the special teams mistakes, but Rockford offense better there as well, and in scoring down the stretch to gain some distance there. But I think still some positive signs that the Grandville showed in a game where they're not going to have a bunch of huge plays offensively. There wasn't the kick returns. They still were kind of able to keep it close, give themselves right there within striking distance, that if Rockford does make mistakes or if the weather were to turn bad or a situation like that, they're right in the football game yet.
No, I think that's actually a really good point about looking at this game versus the Caledonia game, because you essentially take that long Jaden Terry touchdown or that second Rojas kick return and you take them out, and it's maybe a similar-ish result there. So in the same way, this game, there's one break. Grandville gets a turnover, maybe down a score. Maybe they get a special teams play. Like, whatever may happen, it could break different. And, maybe pray for some early snow
right
in a couple weeks, and you never know. But I really think that's the main thing, looking out. And I think Jaden was a little bit banged up, in the game, and obviously the rest of the team is banged up. It's one of those things where I think Grandville, you come out of it saying, like, all right, we know, even though we lost by a couple scores, we kept it close. I think they have an idea of, we know maybe more than any other team coming out of a game, we might know how to beat these guys. I think Muskegon, I guess, probably held them to a lower point total. And it was kind of just a sludge back and forth in the second half. But also Muskegon's, if we're saying Grandville's on par with Muskegon in terms of Rockford performance, you got to feel pretty good. So, and for Grandville, the playoff run is, who knows? We were actually just talking off air. It's like, you get by Rockford, and then you're playing a whole bunch of East Side teams that like to play nickel defense that, they don't know how to take these spindly nickel corners and turn them into a linebacker and plug the run. So you never know. But I think we'll kind of close this game with that of, like, the script again is there, and I think you have to look beyond the number and saying like Grandville has set themselves up for like, you don't want to look ahead 2 weeks, but like for this in all likelihood playoff rematch, Grandville's put themselves in a position where like I think they have a better chance than what the outside experts would probably say.
Yeah, I think so. I think, you still kind of look at some of the numbers. Still were able to run the ball. The big plays weren't there, but of course the Rockford defense is really talented.
They never
give up the big plays, and so the fact that the Bulldogs are still sustaining some drives down the field, we're getting in the end zone, a couple goal line situations, able to punch it in. The defense gave up some bigger plays, but I mean, we've gone through 8 weeks now, and you're still trying to find a team that's going to not give up big plays to Rockford. That's just what they do. It kind of able to keep them in check enough to keep themselves in the game. So, you kind of the things that the Bulldogs have been doing all season long, and things that they've been working on for the Rockford game, even though they don't get the win, you kind of you feel pretty good about it. That the fact that there's some improvement that needs to take place in the next couple weeks. You got to win, week 9, of course, for some momentum. You gotta win your first playoff game more than likely, and then you get Rockford in a rematch. But the fact that you get a couple weeks to work on some of those things, you've seen them now. Got to take your first chance at it, and it didn't go your way, but you're kind of close enough in the game to where you feel like, you fix a couple things, you do things a little bit different, you get a slightly different game plan, and you've got a shot.
Well, what's the one thing that we know about Grandville and what they have to do to beat Rockford? Well, they probably have to find a way to be able to mix up the offense some, not just in terms of formations and different styles of running, but in particular they have to be able to pass the ball. And Cash Ruff had no time to throw, in this game. That's one thing that they'll have to be better in pass pro. But also, their best pass catcher, you could probably argue, and Easton Sadinsky was out again. Yep. So, and Braylon Haney did catch a touchdown, so I guess I can say that. But yes, but like you potentially could have Haney as the grinder for yards, and you next time hopefully have Sadinsky back as a pass catcher and a little bit bigger grinding back as well. So like that's the other thing is like if we're talking about what the offense was missing to be able to score another touchdown or two to win that game, they're kind of throughout the early part of the season, especially the middle part of the season, their best pass catcher was out of the backfield. So that's one thing I think to keep your eye on where things could be different. So Rockford does beat Grandville in that one, and we'll see. I think there will be a second game coming up in all likelihood, and we just kind of heard from Snooze what you can expect. It likely will first be Grandville having to get by Hudson, which of course was a big matchup the first time. Those two teams have been going in kind of separate directions after that game, but can't look by that. That game will be next week on MGN. So yes, again, Grandville Jenison, senior night, veterans night, whatever that they're all doing there at Grandville. We unfortunately will not be there just with our schedule, and we'll kind of get into a Week 8 preview in a minute, but that game you can find on the Grandville Athletics YouTube page and whatever. But what it came down to is if things go well, Grandville will be resting a lot of guys, and they'll be winning, and even if they were to lose, this game literally means nothing.
Yep.
Nothing. So, we'll go for. I guess if they lose and there's movement, like as Snooze said, but for the most part, this game doesn't really mean a ton. So we'll go to a game that means everything for a couple team season. So, let's take a buzz around the rest of the area. In terms of Week 8 that we saw. First off, the main one, like we alluded to, Catholic Central beat South Christian. Again, we've been on the opposite sides of this all year long. You stuck your flag into South Christian. I had, I deserve. I don't know if I deserve credit. I wasn't alone.
You're going to take the credit.
I'm going to take the credit. I had them from day one, like they're whatever. So I went out on the limb and picked the team that's won the state championship, all but 1 year out of the last 6.
Very brave, yep.
That's my crazy pick, and the team that, brought the quarterback back and the running back and most of the line back and a lot of the defense back. Yeah. That's where I went out on the limb to pick. But I get rewarded as they beat them, and it was an interesting game plan and game on the whole because Kellen Russell Dixon goes for 300 yards almost, 3 touchdowns, and Catholic Central mostly went single back under center, and they just pounded the rock on a rough, rainy night, just really pounded the rock down South Christian's throat and played good, security-based football. They didn't let Carson Visk get out and beat him with either his legs or his arms or his arm very much, and it was just a really clinical performance of Catholic Central, mostly to me showing that they're ready to win another state championship because they went out and said, all right, here's our November brand of football a couple weeks early, and they showed it off well.
Yeah, the adjustment to playing a physical smash mouth type of game there when you've got a running back like KRD that was, well, you know, I've been able to see some highlights the first time watching him live, just how physical and strong a runner he is, and that he is a guy you can just give the football to 25, 30 times, and he was going to run over South Christian until the game was over, and was able to do so, picked up a ton of yardage, the touchdowns, of course. A game that started off, looked like it was going to be pretty high scoring, both teams drive down, score right away, and then the defense settle in a little bit from there to not be quite as high scoring overall, but South Christian was in it till the end, more or less. I'll defend them to that point.
They had the ball essentially tied. I mean, and then there were 2-point conversions involved, and they certainly were in it. It actually was close. They're both very good. It was actually closer than I expected. Like, I will give you and yourself. I mean, it's a rivalry game. It's going to get closer. I actually kind of thought, based on some of what we had seen, especially from the South Christian defense being a little bit leaky at points, that it was going to be, that there was a chance that Catholic Central was going to run it up offensively on them quite a bit. Now, nobody in all of West Michigan outside of Rockford scored more than 25 points. We chose the night to do this show that nobody anywhere scored any points because it was 28 degrees and it was raining and windy again. So that is the one thing. But Catholic Central wins that one. Caledonia controls just a grinder. Like we said, though, maybe lost Brody Betzer to injury. We'll see long-term what that situation is. But, a game East Kentwood really wanted to feel safe and mix up this week for the playoffs quite a bit because now they and West Ottawa have a game that will be on MSR that is, as Snooze said, looking like winner goes to the playoffs unless we get a West Ottawa win and a lot of movement beneath them. So that goes on. I'll just kind of run through and we can, at the end, wrap it up. Byron Center, 9-0 wins the defensive struggle over EGR. And I'm sure which was an interesting game to watch with the physicality. But, from our perspective, we had radio. And like I said, every time we went to it, it was Dave Van Ord setting up another punt from the 45-yard line. So those two very good defenses certainly played to their strength. Hudsonville held off Jenison. That's a talking point when we get into our preview of Grandville Jenison. Like, Jenison looked good. They were in it. They were even up at one point in time. Or were they up or was it tied?
They were tied for a while,
Tied on a couple occasions at least.
7-7 at least, 14-14, I believe.
Whatever. It was close. It was Hudsonville was close with Jenison, which is, if you asked us that in week 5, we would have looked at each other and not believed you that would have happened. But that's kind of been the course of those two seasons.
Yep.
Coopersville blew out Holland Christian, setting up the Holland Christian must win, but maybe it doesn't matter this week on their side of things against Unity Christian. Both Zealand teams lost. FHC won, etc. So, I guess when you look at that, Caledonia, Byron Center, Hudsonville, what are some of the main storylines that kind of jumped off the page to you? Yeah,
I think starting at the top from the games you'd mentioned, that Caledonia, kind of a tight game against East Kentwood. I think they were probably hoping to, after a tough loss to Grandville, to right the ship. And
their offense just never got going.
It never did. I think that's part of the concern, as we talked about already a couple times. It just wasn't a night for an offense to try to find a rhythm. It was a tough night. It was kind of just a survive and advance type of night for the offenses all around the area. But I think the Caledonia faithful probably were hoping to see a bit of more of a turnaround there. But of course, East Kentwood, it's kind of been built on their defense for a while now. That's been their strength. So you'll take the win against East Kentwood there, and they've got kind of another week to try to figure things out. Maybe Betzer gets hopefully for them healthy before the playoffs.
Or they're a very different looking. The thing is, Heron, sorry to cut your point, but he and Heron battled for the quarterback position. So all of a sudden, this may look more like the heavy read option offense like they ran last year if it is Heron. So it could be a vastly different looking Caledonia team just in time for the playoffs.
Yeah, which that could be really interesting if they're forced to make that decision, what they kind of look like for a playoff run. Byron Center, when a low-scoring game, two of the teams that have been right behind. It's been kind of a mess at the top for Still Central, Byron Center, East Grand Rapids, all right there. And so Byron Center wins a close game, but kind of establishes themselves as the number 2. I believe still have a chance at a share for the conference there, but kind of rebounding after their loss to Forest Hill Central. Hudsonville is kind of still a tough one to figure out, where they win against Jenison, but they've kind of been trending now.
They've gotten Baker back too. For he only missed. I think he only missed the Grandville game, or maybe one other game. No, I say this tongue in cheek, but I think Grandville broke their will.
Yeah.
Truly, I think that Grandville game where they were unbeaten and they lost the way they did.
Yep.
With their best offensive performance of the year and the T team just running up and down on them. Like I say it kind of tongue in cheek, and I don't mean it necessarily negatively, but I feel like for a team like them, like it feels like that Grandville game, which it would break the will of a lot of teams to lose that way.
For sure.
That's what it's felt like with them, because they've not been, they got somebody shut out 2 straight games, and this week they struggled to score against Jenison. Like this is not the same team, both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I think a team that it was kind of tough to establish expectations coming into the season. Felt like they were overachieving early on, whether that was just their true kind of level of what they were, or if they were overachieving now to this point. But it's kind of taken a downturn. Yeah, as you said, just a part of that's due to running into some of the heart of the OK Red and some of the top teams, but also, now you're kind of going against teams like Jenison near the bottom of the OK Red, where you're hoping to kind of get things figured back out and get some momentum going, and still a bit of a struggle, of course. Still going to take the win, but just a kind of been a tough grind for them here, trying to get things feeling pretty comfortable.
Yeah, they lock up their playoff. I mean, they were probably in even if they did lose out, but they definitely lock up their playoff positioning, which is good. They got that win last week because it gets easier for them this week because they have Rockford. So what a way to close. I mean, Rockford. We'll be talking about this a lot of teams. I would assume Rockford might play their JV team, which their JV team probably has 107 kids on it too. So what does it matter? 120 kids on the freshman team, I assume, and on and on.
It just goes on forever.
So yeah, that's week 8, and that was our show. Again, if you want to kind of watch back everything, you can check out our show either in the on-demand tab on Michigan Sports Radio or on the Michigan Game Night YouTube, where you definitely are consuming this show right now. Let's get into the week 9 preview. Let's start with Grandville Jenison. If we're talking about look-ahead games, this is the ultimate one for Grandville. You're coming off Caledonia Rockford, splitting with those 2 teams, emotional high games with some injuries mixed in. You have the playoffs next week. It is senior night. You're back at home. I don't know what the weather is going to be like yet. It probably is going to be a little bit better weather, but if it's rainy and cruddy again, makes it even harder. And you got a Jenison team that got a win against Grand Haven. They played well against another border war rival last week against Hudsonville. They're going to want to make a statement. It is the ultimate look-ahead game that I kind of wrote in notes. Like, I definitely think I'm expecting from afar to see this game being closer than expected early. Like, if it's 7-0 Grandville at the end of the first, if it's like 14-7 at halftime, and then even if Grandville still wins by 3-4 scores later, like, I would not be surprised if this game just is closer than expected for, at least the first 2 quarters.
Yeah, I think so. This is a game where you're really going to be able to kind of figure out, the motivation for the team going into a Week 9 game where, there's might on the surface not a ton at stake, but to see the coaching staff, how they're able to get the guys ready to go against Jenison, and kind of a rivalry game there. And, of course, trying to take some anger out after a rivalry loss to Rockford. It's kind of an opportunity there to avenge things and get ready for the playoffs too. But definitely a game where, you just get done playing your 2 biggest rivals. You go 500, you split against them. Some good things, some bad things, and it's very easy to start looking towards the playoffs, think things are locked in, and kind of totally forget about this game. And you just don't really want to get in the habit of that. Of you look ahead and all suddenly you're dropping a game to Jenison. Now you're stumbling, kind of questioning a bunch of things as you're going into the playoffs. Just not a great place to be. So even though Jenison on the surface hasn't been a great team, record's not great, that it's still a very important game that the Bulldogs stay focused for this one.
I feel like, so you know how Nick Saban would always talk about rat poison or whatever for his players in the media? We are rat poison dealers. I feel like I feel like Coach Stiegel hates me half the time with some of the stuff that comes out of my mouth praising his team and whatever. Like this week is the opposite. We're saying that they're going to be close and have to come to fight against a 1-win team. So you can actually play this message today.
Sometimes you have to take the opposite of what we say and use that as motivation. This week you just play us.
Yeah, today just play us. You're losing, boys. You're going to lose to Jenison.
Not looking good.
That's going to be the playoff. That's going to be the second Rockford one. We're just play us in the locker room. So, like I said, Jenison, though, playing better off the Grand Haven win. We know the Jenison systems. Of course, Coach Zeitman, well-traveled, Ferris State. Did they beat Grand Valley on Saturday?
Unfortunately, they did not.
They got they got their butt kicked.
Then they got unkicked.
And then I stopped watching it. Like I actually stopped watching the game. I was off doing something else, and then I'm like, I look at the score. I'm like, no, that's not the score. And then they got their butt kicked again down the stretch. So there you go. So Tony Anise, I would say Ferris State should fire him, and then Grand Valley should hire him. Or Michigan should hire him as their new OC when they lose the entire coaching staff after this season.
Michigan State, there's rumors flying around Michigan State.
Oh yeah, I don't want to like Michigan State.
I
love his offense so much. I don't want to like that. It'd be funny if they hire a D2 coach.
It would.
It would be funny. I saw Jaden's visiting Michigan State this weekend for the game, so that's cool. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad to see that after Tuckus came and went. That. Why are you laughing?
I don't know.
That things are. That things are still on track there. God. Jenison. So they run the Shogun pistol offense with Coach Zeitman. They've run the 5-2 defense in the past. I haven't seen if they're still doing it this year. So they're well suited to play Grandville. That we'll get into some of their weapons that they have. The coach's son is the quarterback, but we know what this offense is at its core. It's a throwback to Jenison when they were state champions. At the time it was the flex bone, but like it's the pistol flex bone offense more or less. Different looks out of the pistol. They want to run the ball. They want to go triple option. They force your defense to be very smart, and their defense can be pretty equally physical, trying to stuff the Grandville run game. They didn't a year ago, but you never know.
Yeah, no, I think usually going into this game, I think for the last couple of years, we've said it too in our previews and during the games as well on the call, that it's kind of at least for me, an offense that's fun to watch and kind of a system that we like.
My favorite offense.
It is, I believe you've established yourself that's your favorite offense, and
I like the way Muskegon runs it more.
It's a little different being run by Muskegon, but
this is not a good segment.
No, but I think there's definitely some upside to the offense, and they've got playmakers. They have had playmakers throughout the last couple of years. It's just in the times that we've seen it, at least, and I haven't had a ton of experience watching it this year, I guess, and to see what exactly. But
you haven't tuned into Jenison football on the weekly?
Not a ton, but trying to do some for the prep for this week. But
they the game.
Yeah. Well, for this, I guess. Prep. I should have been
well prepared for this.
Yeah, the prep.
People can tell how well prepared we are for this show.
Definitely. No, but in years past, it's just been an offense that you kind of can see there what they're trying to do. It's just not always been the cleanest. There's been some turnovers, some issues, and kind of things where they're just not executing at a super high level to the point where
Drew Hungerford stealing the opening pitch of the game last year.
There's been kind of memories of that going through my head. So, the potential is there, the plays are there, the right idea is there, but sometimes it's just been some of the depth of the playmakers and also just kind of getting things cleaned up.
They were a playoff team, and they were nearly a playoff winner. Wasn't there an overtime game that they lost at the on a 2-point convert? Was that against Caledonia in Pennington's first year?
Could have been, yeah. It was a close game. I do remember
because that was Caleb Dean, who obviously is a pretty key contributor at Hope College now. That was a part of that team. So that the makeup there of that level of team is certainly still there. And they've got a really good tight end in Gage Chatfield. They have some good players on the inside of the defense and the offense, Dylan Gage in particular. So they've got guys that can make things happen. I don't know quite what the one thing is. I think they're a little bit more down than even the last couple years at some of the the slot back positions and stuff. And obviously that's where things can be lacking. For Grandville, keys to the game, I wrote stay healthy. So, Jaden Terry's been banged up. Does he sit for, a great chance to help, get him maybe the 25-plus touchdown threshold, but also at the same time, keep him healthy, keep Cash, keep the rest of the backs healthy. Ideally for Grandville, this is where it's going to be some rat poison. Ideally, no one sees the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate that's week 9, and I hate to be this simple, and I hate to, whatever. But if you look at what the spread would be for this game, I mean, ideally that's the sort of game it's where Grandville maybe even they get, like last year's game script was to get the running clock for the entire second half, and they tried hard to do that, and they rested guys. So ideally the game script is back there a little bit. Again, it's just Grandville has to stay healthy and execute.
Yeah, I think so. I think, on one hand, the coaching staff has to, we're just talking about how they got to get the guys ready to go, but at the same time, I think that you're thinking the exact same thing where you want to dominate the game early so that late in the game you don't have to risk running your guys into the ground in the second half of week 9, but when you're trying to stay healthy for the playoffs, you're trying to keep Jaden healthy, trying to, Sadinsky, you're trying to get him back and healthy.
I don't want to see Easton touch the field this week.
You don't need to rush guys back, ideally, to try to play week 9 to the point where you're you're fully ready to go going into week 1 of the playoffs.
No, yeah, for sure. And yeah, I mean that's just kind of what it is. You know, like we said, we're talking out both sides of our mouths. But like I do think the game early might be closer, could very likely be closer than expected. We also said that last year, and they put up 21-0 on them in the first couple minutes. So you never know exactly how things will go. It's week 9, and there really aren't. This is the worst week 9. I mean, if we're going to look around, and we're going to transition in just a second to our game of the week, which we chose for a reason. This is the worst week 9. We had a great week 8 with a couple conference championships. This is the worst week 9 I think ever remember. There are 2 games of the OK White has some stuff going on, but not necessarily much head to head in the OK White. They're all just they all just need to try to win to keep their positioning. But like we have Unity and Holland Christian as a one team wins for Unity. We'll talk about it in a second, or we just talked about Snooze. But you have one team wins to get in, the other team wins, and they're probably still out. West Ottawa, East Kentwood is 99% win to get in, lose you go home, probably, unless there's a miracle and maybe both of them make or both of them miss. But like besides that, there's nothing. I mean, I know where is 96-1's at Allendale and Coopersville?
I believe so. I think I heard that.
I mean, that's a good game, but it doesn't mean much. So that's kind of it's just one of those weeks, and it's kind of like the season's wrapped up, and there's a lot of teams just trying to stay healthy and just trying to figure out what their playoff matchups are going to be. A couple teams don't know what their playoff matchups are going to be because they don't know if they're going to be there. Are Holland Christian and Unity Christian, and the way we can, like we just set it up, and the reason why we're going to this game, Chandler, is because you have interesting dynamics of 2 teams that need to win to get in. One of the teams is Unity Christian, one of the proudest programs in West Michigan high school football. They're having arguably frankly, maybe one of their worst seasons since the first year of the program. Yep. It's just, and it isn't necessarily that they've played bad. There's just the OK Blue is a lot better than people expected. They played a tough schedule to start the year with, having to play Whitehall and stuff week 1. But they win and they can make the playoffs. They're playing a Holland Christian team with a first-year head coach and with kind of trying to find their footing that are likely out regardless, but have a chance to beat their rival and keep them out, and then maybe give themselves an outside chance. But that's why this game's interesting. Is these are 2 programs that come in essentially the same place this year, but they couldn't be at more different places in general. And it's going to be fascinating. There's going to be a lot of anxiety on that, more anxiety than Unity Christian has had for a football game since Chelsea was lining up that kick with the time expiring 2 years ago.
Yeah, honestly, I think the Unity team that has had some downs this season for sure, and then when you think just back a couple years ago to how dominant they were, kind of running through the OK Blue, the conference, running through the playoffs pretty much the entire way, to now kind of fighting for their playoff lives in week 9 against Holland Christian, definitely has taken a bit of a downturn, but I think part of that is we had mentioned in the OK Blue, you got teams like West Catholic now, you've got teams like Allendale, Coopersville that are all playing pretty good football.
Spring Lake Fruitport have had moments in the last 2 years.
Yep, all kind of on the upward trend. Part of that kind of aligning with the Unity downturn.
Are we missing a team that's in the blue? Oh, is Hamilton in there too?
There is I wonder. Okay, was that intentional? But there's a kind of a downturn for Unity. But at the end of the day, you've still got a chance in week 9 to make it into the playoffs, and against the Holland Christian team that they've beat up the last couple of years and in the past, and have a chance to still sneak in the playoffs. And at that point, you're in, and the rest of the season really doesn't matter at that point. But you still got a chance.
Take a lesson from your basketball team. I mean, Scott Sudsma, blue towel of flying, got those boys from an under 500 team late in the season to the doorstep of the state semifinals. Like, I mean, you never know. Once you're in, they likely will kind of fall in that Whitehall. So they likely won't have to see South Christian until later again. I wouldn't want to see Whitehall either. Obviously, Whitehall's as good or better than South Christian. But still, let's talk a little bit about these teams as we continue an unbelievably long middle segment here. Let's start with Unity Christian. So like I said, the first time we've seen them since the 21 state championship game. You look at this team, they're going to be led by Nolan Viss as their kind of lead running back on the left side and linebacker. Two-way leader, dynamic runner, James Carell is their senior quarterback, good thrower when needed. And then the main thing that stands out to me with this team is they are very fast at running back. This is a little bit of a dynamic. He's got some power. He's a linebacker too. But the rest of the group, Vancouvering, a name we know with this team.
Yep.
Max Vancouvering, speed. He's the flanker, the right side running back, very quick. Dylan Vandergoot, the speed, very quick fullback and free safety. We have to get our official Dutch pronunciations, by the way, on.
Okay.
Like, I don't know if it's Vandergoot or Vandergoat. That'll be our thing to look for in the pregame still. Like, we have to get that right. But yeah, that's the one thing about how they're lining up is they're quick out of the backfield, and obviously we know how fast the offense goes. So it's a traditional Unity Christian offense in that sense, but they just haven't been quite as explosive.
Yeah, I think, part of that's just because looking back to how good that championship, the
greatest
team,
offense in the history of the state of Michigan.
So naturally, there's going to be a bit of a fall off once you lose guys like Cam and Drew Chandler and stuff, and you got to replace them. I still think an offense that has a lot of depth has got speed across the backfield, of course, much like the Bulldogs, the T offense that we follow most of the season. You're going to need a depth of runners, you're going to need some speed out of that backfield, the experienced quarterback that can run your offense pretty flawlessly, and then kind of build it from there. And of course, the difference between the Grandville offense that we see and the Unity offense in the past has been the speed at which they run. That not necessarily up tempo, but just moving down the field a little bit quicker, getting the play calls in, they're ready to roll, moving up and down the field versus trying to eat the clock and manage the time and hold on to the football.
Which state championship game?
Maybe you could use a little more.
Right.
Of that.
Maybe we learned. Also, when every single running back you had was hurt, that also didn't help them down the stretch in that game. By the end of things, they have good tight. They always use their tight ends. They go. Everyone knows that's why everyone's seen it. They run the same T as Grandville. It's just faster. It's the power. The twin tight end T. Both their tight ends typically play defensive end. Hugo Vanderwall, who we've seen in the basketball court, 6'6", 6'7" kid. He is now their leading tight end, because remember Jake Chapman, of course, had his super scary health situation about a month ago. We're glad that he is on the mend. Who knows what his future in sports is, but just the fact that he's alive and with us is, obviously, like, prayers answered in that regard. But on the football field, it's not good that you've lost him. I mean, just frankly, he might be their best player in a lot of regards in terms of what he brings on both sides of the ball. But, we know what this team is. I think this team can throw a little bit. We didn't see him throw too much. They didn't have to throw too much when we saw him a couple years ago. But I think they can sneaky throw if they need to. And I'll be interested to see that. Holland Christian, really interesting football team, especially in the perspective of trying to line up in this sort of game. Dave Aberger, local church pastor, actually is in his first year as the head coach. Has a couple sons on the team. The main thing about them is they are a spread offense that borders on Mike Leach air raid. I mean, they last week, I think the stats were in the rain against Coopersville, a game that you would expect to be the definition of, like, we're going to try to power this thing out. Yep. I think they threw for 290 and ran for 80.
Okay.
So, like, they don't care, and they're going to throw the ball as much as, it looks like, as much as any high school team I've seen. When they do run, they'll run it through kind of some quarterback run and some option concepts, and, like, this is as close to a true air raid as you're going to get outside of last year's Rockford team. Like, it's that kind of throwing attack. Eli Boyce is their senior quarterback. They're going to lean heavily on him. He's 6'3", lanky, athletic, good deep shot ability. He's got some legs and some wheels, I should say, as well, and can move down the field. My favorite guy that they have on this team is Luke Mishmerheisen, while we're talking about kind of big tight ends. He's 6'7", lanky. I think we see him on the basketball court too. Plays tight end, but plays tight end in a couple different capacities. They don't almost ever line him up as just a straight tight end at the end of the line. He is either a wing or like the Travis Kelce, Darren Waller kind of slot tight end guy. Really unique weapon to go to. Couple other guys we'll get to as well, but let's kind of start with that. Is we just talked about what Unity does on offense. Here is the exact flippin' opposite for Holland Christian.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to make this game really interesting when you got the Unity offense that we just talked about. That's power and deception there and trying to move quickly down the field. And then you got Holland Christian that got some big athletes as well, but they completely spread the field out. And there's definitely spread offenses at the high school level that they spread the field out, but that's so that they can run the football.
Like Cal, for example.
Yeah, like the Caledonia, the read option, still run some power concepts in there where they are going to run it at you, just spread the field out in doing so. But the Holland Christian definitely looking to throw the football more. They've got 4 receivers out there, and they're targeting them down the field more often than not. And so it presents an interesting dynamic there when you've got a team in Unity that is used to playing some power football like that and trying to stop some run game, and then you suddenly go against Holland Christian that's going to be throwing the football around and multiple receivers, and suddenly you got to mix up your coverages and your packages out there to try to have more guys out playing some coverage down the field.
Yeah, and I have to say, what a matchup for Dreyer and Timmer on the call. And like I said, we got Viss, and we got Vancouvering, and we got Mishmerhuis, and we got Hoekstra, and we got Grotenhuis, and we got Bruxford, and we've got entirely Dutch rosters in this one. So that's good. I like to see that, of course. Depth of wide receiver options: Simon Grotenhuis, Ethan Aberger, coach's son, Josh Bruxford. Senior running back, Meta Hoekstra. They'll use him in the run game. I think he's a 2-time All-State track and field guy. They'll use him in the run game, use him in some pass pro, use him in some receiving, kind of a Swiss Army knife. And that's where this Holland Christian offense, like, the thing is, and this is where I always like to say, like, we might be completely wrong. And we can look at the film and we can say, I think they're going to pass the ball almost exclusively. But yet you look at how they're built, they're big-ish for a D4 team. They're big enough across the front line. You have a 6'7" tight end that you can bring on the wing. You have a speed running back. You have a quarterback that moves. Mm-hmm. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they get in this game and say, actually, this is what we normally do, throwing the ball and doing the read option and the mesh concepts. What if, or the air raid mesh concepts, what if we go read option? What if we go power? What if we get these guys running? And it's what's interesting, what I think is going to be the back of that Unity Christian mindset. You know, Unity playing a base 4-3 with linebackers and DBs that can kind of move into either position. It's what gets interesting is, like, there's still something in the back of your mind if we're expecting this for Holland Christian, but they have the makeup to do other things.
Yeah, definitely have the weapons that they can be a little bit more versatile in what they do, and trying to create an offense targeting around some of their big tight end and their speedy running back. It's hard to completely revamp your offense going into week 9, but if that's something that they've kind of been working on, potentially have some packages ready to go for a game like this, it's to the point it's use it or lose it. You're going to need to win against Unity. That still might not be enough, as we've talked about, but it's a game where you got to have it. And so if that's something that they feel is their best chance against a Unity team, you've got the weapons there. It's just a matter of getting them the football.
Yeah, and Holland Christian, by the way, second most points in school history versus Fruitport. That game, 64-27. So this is an offense that their best can certainly put up points. We know what the Unity defense looks like and how they'll match up. The one side of the ball I want to talk about to wrap up this now nearly 40-minute long segment is the defense. And Ryder Gravenhoff, which sounds a lot like middle linebacker Reed Graverson.
Yeah, it sure does.
In the middle of things for Holland Christian, he'll kind of lead a defense that I have no friggin' clue what they're going to do, because they are, and what they're going to look like, because they're a base kind of nickel attack. They like to have the extra DB out there, a 2-4 base, kind of 2 standing edge rushers, some 3-3-5 looks. When they played flexbone teams earlier in the year, they were going with more of a 4-4 type base, but it was a 4-4 base with 2 standing edge rushers still at the front of things. So it's what gets interesting is, like, we can talk about where all these guys normally are put on a defense that likes it when things are spread out against them. They're going to be spread out. So that's one of the most fascinating questions for me is, what does this Holland Christian defense look like, and what can they try to do to stop Unity Christian?
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what kind of alignment they can come up with, because some of the footage that you see is they've sometimes it's, just run the 2 down linemen and let them try to go after the quarterback. And to their credit, they at times got pressure with just 2 guys rushing. When you can drop that many guys back in coverage, of course you're going to take that and still get some pressure on the quarterback. But running 2 down linemen against the T, not going to work. So I think you need to find a way to get some more bodies along the line, whether that's really stacking the box and adding some extra guys there, or if you're putting down linemen across the line there, the line of scrimmage. But definitely going to be kind of a mix matching guys around, maybe from what they've traditionally been aligned at and what their positioning is, to try to match what Unity Christian's throwing at them. All
right, that game is 6:30. Michigan Game Night YouTube, MichiganSportsRadio.com/MGN, and the Michigan Sports Radio Listen Live tab. And Grandville Athletics will have Grandville Jenison. So that's all coming up this weekend. We'll see everyone at 6:30. Well, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to, in this very long episode, play a segment from our show Friday. We did our latest draft. We did uniforms. So we'll edit together from that show and do that quick segment, which, by the way, we each said one of our biggest misses was Holland Christian's home gray uniforms. I had it listed. I forgot how much I love them. The white top, helmet, white pants. I'll probably put a picture up on screen right now that you're probably looking at. So I want to just now get that out in front, that was a big miss. Now that we've done more Holland Christian looking, I forgot what that looked like this year. But you're going to see a lot of the exact uniforms you expect to see picked in this next segment. So we'll do that, and then we'll come back. We got our rankings for the week, so we'll be right back.
Identify your number one personal trait, the thing that you do better than most others. If not, this may be a good time to think this through. If you're really good at writing, then why use the phone? If you're great on the phone, why use email? If you have exceptional human relation skills, why sit back and let others lead? I'm Randy Hansen, president of Centennial Securities Company. Playing to our strengths is something we do very well at Centennial. And if you're already a customer, you know what I mean. If not, isn't it about time?
Member SIPC and FIN.
Hey everyone, Nate Dreyer from MGN, and MGN merch now available for purchase, and we have got a ton of options. Here's where you find the new MGN shop. Go to MichiganGameNight.com. Many of you have probably been there before. Click on the shop merch tab. Many of you have probably been to the MGN page on Michigan Sports Radio. Click on the Buy MGN merch tab. It'll take you here. We've partnered with Teespring, neat company that allows for us to have a lot of different shirt designs. They'll print them, they'll make them, they'll ship them out to you. So a neat way that allows us to have a lot of offerings. We've got a ton of really cool t-shirts, hats, snapback, dad hats, beanie hats, water bottles, more t-shirts, more sweatshirts, just a ton of options. Really, just a ton of options that you're going to be able to look through and find exactly what you may want. We've done what we can, like I said, with Teespring to try to stack this thing. We'll have plenty more options that we'll put up on social media, but make sure you check it out. Welcome back. This is the Farmers Insurance halftime show. That's what we normally would call it. It is still a halftime show right here, and we are getting ready to go into, if you've ever watched our Tailgate Report podcast, every once in a while we'll do some snake draft segments where we've drafted the best helmets, the best stadiums in West Michigan. How about we lifetime, Chandler? Draft the best uniforms. We're each going to do 5. So what we do normally, I guess I kind of forgot to bring it up, is we have to... we typically will roll or do a wheel. So spin a wheel. We're doing this live time, folks. This is well produced. But we'll spin, and then we'll do, it is not necessarily a snake draft per se. You'll kind of see the way that we do this right here. So CT, Nate, I'm going to show you at least so that you know I'm not cheating.
It's not rigged.
So we're spinning, and then whoever gets to pick. Chandler exclusively has won these, so I actually won the... Oh, wait, yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I won. So I'm going to take the second pick. So what we'll do is Chandler gets the first pick, and then I get second, third, fourth, and then we just go back and forth. After that, we'll each pick 5, and I'll try to pull some pictures up as we are talking about things as well, because we won't have the live graphics going on. I do actually have this live graphic, though. I haven't been running the graphics tonight because I'm a terrible producer. We do have more graphics. But you get to start, Chandler, with the number 1 pick of best uniform here on our halftime quick show. in West Michigan.
Okay, so lots of good jerseys to choose from. We have a definitely different taste in uniforms.
Oh,
we
yeah, well, that's
talked
the
about
one.
this.
Yeah.
So going into this, I don't think our board is going to be too similar. So this is going to be really unique how this goes. But,
True.
You know what? I'm going to start off, and I'm going to go with one of my favorites, just personal. I'm not sure how well this is going to be by everyone else, but I'm going to take the Mona Shores home jerseys.
I knew you were going to take that. I actually already started writing it down. It's actually why I gave you one thing is I do like it, and obviously if you don't. So Chandler goes with the Mona Shores home uniforms as we've got some teams starting to find their way back on the field for warm-ups, by the way, so we may have to pick up the pace on this. I am going to go with my second pick, the Grandville Throwbacks. So I go Grandville Throwbacks. If you've seen them wear those, as they've got the gold mixed in as well. So I go with the Grandville Throwbacks for my my second pick on this, and I think I'm going to edit this together, by the way, later, everyone, okay, where maybe we'll put the pictures up and we'll kind of have this make more sense. This was an idea we had that just is not working whatsoever live time. We have too much going on tonight. So he's got Mona Shores. I have Grandville Throwbacks. I'm going to go with the Rockford All Icy Whites, the white helmet, the white top, the white bottom. So the Rockford Whites, all whites.
Okay.
That's my next pick, and now you're back on the clock.
All right. I'm going to go with, we talked about this one, and I think we're going to allow it, but the Muskegon Grays.
Okay, the Muskegon Grays. I think we're going with, I think they're still modern. I don't know if they've worn them this year, but I think they have. So we'll go the Muskegon, the Steel Grays out of Muskegon. So now it comes down to if I want to pick one that I think you'll take or you might not take. I'm going to take one that I think is potentially a risk of you taking. It's one that I don't love how the helmet looks, but I love the rest of the uniform. We saw it last week. Caledonia, they're Steel Grays.
That's another good one.
So I've got Grandville Throwbacks, Rockford All Whites, Caledonia Grays. You've got Mona Shores Home and Muskegon Gray.
Okay. This is when I know the strategy you have on this, so I've got to take it now. I'm going to do it. Give me the Bulldogs home jersey, Grandville. I'm going to take it. That might be early, but we'll see.
Right, Chandler takes the Grandville home uniform, so cross that off your board if you had it like I did. So my last round pick, I know what I'm going to take. You know what? I'm going to take two back-to-back picks that you aren't going to take, but I don't care because I want on my team. Give me East Grand Rapids home. I love the clean look out of the Pioneers with the blue and yellow.
Okay. This is going to be tough now. I've got a lot on my list here I'm trying to narrow down. There's two options for the same team, and I got to decide which one I want.
Okay.
Give me the Rockford orange jerseys.
Okay, I figured those are goes too. So Rockford and Grandville, the two that have a couple uniforms taken. So Rockford's orange. So right now through 4 rounds, I have the Grandville Throwbacks, the Rockford All Whites, the Caledonia Grays, the EGR home. Chandler has the Mona Shores home, the Muskegon Grays, the Grandville homes, and the Rockford orange. So I think they wore those last week with the white helmet.
Yes.
So we have those on the board. Like I said, I'll probably edit this together as a segment on the Tailgate Report podcast with the graphics and stuff up, so make sure you potentially look at that, or I won't. Who knows what I might do. I never know what we have time for, what we think of. So final picks right here. You're watching it tonight. I know it may not be the most popular pick, but it's pretty much my favorite jersey at the next level as well with the team that wears it. You know what I'm picking here, don't you?
I think I do.
You don't know. What is it? It's the South Christian Roads.
Had to be.
Chandler knows how much I love those for Penn State as well. South Christian's road uniforms, all whites, clean. Mm-hmm. Final pick.
Okay. I think I've got to do it. I was on the fence about this one, but I'm going to go same game there, same jersey that you're seeing, or same game that you're watching. Just the opposite team. I'm going the Catholic Central home jerseys, the blue
grays,
on black.
The blue, okay,
the blue on blacks.
Okay, so the ones they're wearing tonight, not the white on royal blue, the blue on black.
I like the blue on blacks.
All right. So, final, we'll wrap it up here on our halftime coverage presented by Farmers Insurance. I have the Grandville Throwbacks in our draft, the Rockford All Whites, the Caledonia Grays, the East Grand Rapids Homes, and the South Christian Aways. Chandler has the Mona Shores Home Baby Blues, the Muskegon Alternate Steel Grays, the Grandville Home uniforms, Rockford's orange uniform with the white helmet, and then the Grand Rapids Catholic Central I think it's the alternate home, the grays that they're wearing tonight with the blue numbers. So that is our draft tonight. All right, we're back. Well, you just saw us Friday night. Now we're back to present day. Yep, that was the draft. I would recap it now in this segment, but I don't remember what we picked. So, well, I'll remember when I edit it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I just remember I won. That's all I know.
Yeah, something like that.
Don't ask me to name the teams, but...
Yep. I know we both picked Grandville at some point.
Yep.
So, yeah. All right, let's do some rankings, shall we?
Let's do it.
Post-Week 8 rankings. 1 week to go in the OK Red. I will begin with 8, 7, and 6. Grand Haven is at the bottom because they have not yet won. They've fought some people along the way. They've not shook some hands along the way. I don't think Coach Stiegel was overly happy about them at one point in time. Now I'm getting people in trouble, or myself at least. But no, Grand Haven has not won yet. They are at the bottom. They have a chance this week against, no they don't, against Caledonia. Jenison is 7. They beat Grand Haven. They lost to everyone else. East Kentwood, I'm putting at 6 because they lost to Hudsonville, who I always have above them. And that tips my hand of who I think is going to win on Friday.
Okay.
What do you have?
So we've got, we're in agreement on 8 and 7. I've got Grand Haven, Jenison for the same reasons you listed.
All of the same reasons I listed, or not going to endorse all of them?
Yeah, no, I'll endorse all of them. I mean, why not? We're tied together at this point anyway, so we're going down together. I think this is where I'm making my pick as well. I've got West Ottawa 6.
Okay, yep.
I've still a guy. I mean, we'll figure that matchup between 5 and 6 out this week, and we'll know for sure both 3 and 5, but I think to this point, I'm going to give the edge to East Kentwood. We'll see what happens.
Okay, so this is where I mess things up a ton.
Okay.
All right. 5 and 4, and we'll do the top 3 because we've settled things back out. I'm putting Hudsonville 5, West Ottawa 4. What, you want me to tell you why?
Yeah.
Pretty simple. West Ottawa kicked Hudsonville's tail.
Okay.
So, like, why wouldn't you have it that way?
That's a good question.
It's a good question. So I'm assuming you don't have it that way.
I don't have
obviously.
it that way. I've got East Kentwood 5, Hudsonville 4, because Hudsonville is. So I've got East Kentwood over West Ottawa.
So West Ottawa, who's the only one that blew out any of the other ones, is below them.
Either way, this gets confusing because Hudsonville's got the head-to-head over East Kentwood, so I've got to have.
Doesn't get confusing for me.
Yeah, but
mine's in line.
Okay, well, yeah, no, just save this for next week. We'll just see.
But I'm just telling you, mine's in line. If
Okay.
we're doing it this week, mine's in line.
Yep, that's okay.
Am I right?
I guess you're right.
I am right.
This better be saved for if East Kentwood wins.
This is the post week 8.
I know, but like same.
If I'll redo it for next week.
Okay.
That's the beauty of it. This is after this week. East Kentwood lost to Hudsonville. Hudsonville lost to West Ottawa. Simple.
Okay.
Do you vote for the Blitz top 10?
Apparently I do. I guess. I don't know.
Gosh. Top 3. Caledonia, Grandville, Rockford.
Yep.
I mean, at this point in time, they've fleshed it out for us. They've all beaten each other, and even I don't even quite know my my angle as of yet. So, yeah. That's how it is. That's the OK Red. This can be a quick segment because there's not much. Well, we found stuff to disagree on.
We did.
We disagreed on, but I'm right. There's no argument to make other than what I made. Because it's as of right now, this is the power rankings after this week. And as of right now, East Kentwood lost to Hudsonville. Hudsonville lost to Will. Boop, boop.
Okay.
What are you looking up?
No, I'm just doing some research.
Am I wrong?
You're not. No, I don't think you're wrong.
I mean, I don't remember who beat who anymore. So
I know that's why I'm refreshing myself because I don't want to say anything silly. But
I'm right. Look it up. We're gonna pause. We're gonna just sit here and watch you look it up until you tell me that I'm right.
Yeah, no, nothing you've said struck me as wrong. I'm just trying to find some ammo here to try to defend myself.
There's no ammo. West Ottawa will be Hudsonville by 3 touchdowns. Hudsonville will be East Kentwood by a couple scores, or a score and a half, whatever it was. And then East Kentwood and West Ottawa are going to play.
Okay.
OK Power-6. This will be quick, too. OK Red, Rockford. They are the conference champions unless they lose to Hudsonville. How funny. Hudsonville has a chance to do the funniest thing ever. Hudsonville, I beg of you, please, this show would just be electric next week. Then we can print the OK Red co-champion shirts.
Yes.
Because remember, head-to-head doesn't matter.
That is one of the weirder rules of...
Right.
Yeah.
Weirder rules, but it's right for now.
Yep.
So, there you go. Print the shirts. Hudsonville, I am begging you. I'm begging you. I'll put you at 4 then.
Yeah, right. Oh, now we're starting to debate teams you might get moved up.
I'll put them at 3.
See, I already got them at 4, so.
Actually, I'll put them at 3.
Wow.
If they beat Rockford.
Okay.
I'll put them at 1.
Yeah.
I don't care. They'll get to be my end of season power ranking pick. I don't care. So, yeah, Rockford, OK Green, Muskegon are conference champions.
Yeah.
They're good. OK Blue, West Catholic since week 2. OK Gold, Catholic Central 1, so that's over.
Afraid so.
Belding has been OK Silver for the whole season. So OK White, the only one that's a little bit up in the air because you can still choose a couple teams that all have a circle of losses. So this is one where we actually are kind of just saying like who I think is the best team if they were to play again, even though there are some head-to-heads involved. But the thing is, there's a circle of head-to-heads. So who do you have in the White?
I've got Forest Hill Central.
Okay, as do I. And this is for, I think his name is John Martinez on Twitter. And he was harassing all the Fox Blitz people for their top 10s with he would praise one person and then he'd have another one that he'd be all mad at. But I'm like, that guy's got, because he started targeting Grandville for some reason because Grandville losing to the 2 teams that will be in the state championship in D1. Well, Belleville is better than I thought they were. I was looking at some research. It turns out the team with the best quarterback in the last 20 years in the country is actually really good.
Yep.
And they're mostly good because their defense doesn't allow any points any week. So that's a problem. But regardless, so that's for him. I saw him harassing people. So now we know that's not my supposed burner that Chandler keeps talking about. We know that's not me because I certainly wouldn't be harassing people about having Grandville too high and FHC because I have FHC above Byron Center, which I think is what he was asking for. Okay. But then there's a circle of losses there. So I like Byron's. I mean, Byron Center proved a lot to me. I actually would almost have put them, but I am officially now, I'm a warrior for the people. And what you have to understand is I'm done with the internet trolls on high school football.
Okay.
So if you were a person that came at me asking about who's running the camera on the broadcast where Chandler left me hanging, I was running the camera and everything on my own. I'm coming for you. I'm coming for, I came for all the Blitz people all year. Now they've all got Grandville securely. Brett Bakita, the Rockford grad, has Grandville the highest. So there's an upset of all upsets. So I'm coming for the trolls at this point in time. Not going to stand for it anymore.
Okay.
That's where we're at.
All right.
I am now a warrior against the high school football trolls. Because it's unless I agree with what you're saying, then I will boost you. But as of right now, the ones I don't like, so the Grandville haters. So anyone that's saying Grandville, with 2 losses, here's Grandville with 2 losses up there again. Yeah, Grandville with 2 losses up there again. They lost to Davison and Rockford. Those 2 teams are going to be in the state championship game, very high chance. So,
yeah. All right.
Do you have any comments on the trolls?
No. I mean, I'm with you.
You're friends with the trolls? You are a troll?
Well, I have troll tendencies potentially when it comes to egging you on, I guess. But no, it's a little rich that we spent the first 8 weeks attacking the polls for being incorrect, and then now they've got Grandville. I
won.
There, and now we're attacking the trolls. So
I won. I flipped.
Okay.
I won. I'm now a defender. I'm a defender. So the thing is, I have principles. And the thing is, those principles change based on if it matches what I need.
Okay.
So I was a troll with a platform.
Professional troll.
A professional troll. I own the platform. Does it count? I don't know. I was a troll of the platform, and now I'm a defender of others of the platform. I'm a defender of the shield. I'm a Big J, man.
Yeah.
When people talk about me, they
each
say,
other.
that guy's a journalist. Did you know I have a journalism degree?
I have heard that.
People forget. People oftentimes forget, and I can see why. Grand Valley State, class of 2020, valedictorian, not a big deal. How we feeling? We have Unity Christian, and we have Holland Christian to close the regular season. We'll be there at 6:30. We're doing radio coverage because I don't have a huddle hookup, and I don't know what the rules are for streaming, so we're just doing radio, and one of our cameras broke, as everyone knows.
Yep.
So we're doing radio. I like doing radio more anyway. So we're doing radio, so that'll be fun. Watch Grandville Jenison student broadcast. I'm assuming it's going. If not, the huddle cam's up. So yeah. Do you have any final thoughts? Because boy, things got off the rails.
Yeah, that was a fun show, I thought. I don't know. We'll see. But if the games anything like they did tonight, it'll be a good time. We'll have some laughs. So it'll be a good game. Playoff warm up for us as well. So looking forward to it.
I think you're going to be wearing a tie. How do you feel about that?
I'm learning of this just now, so
yes.
I've got to process that information.
I've decided we're going a week early on. That's game of the week.
Okay. That dampens things.
Did you see how much that broke his spirit?
Yeah. Suddenly, it's like, oh, shoot. But no, I can put a tie on. I've got one. So
you're going to find another wedding to go to?
Yeah. Maybe I could crash a wedding or something. I can figure something out.
Probably wouldn't wear a tie to that.
No, I probably wouldn't. You're not wrong.
We're done. I have nothing more I do have more to say, but we're done. Goodbye, everyone. We'll see you on Friday.